We're going to talk a little bit about this today, Brother Joel.
Give me just a second, and I'll be able to see what you're talking about.
About this wonderful, wonderful piece of work.
Hey, 1, 2, you want me to turn the lava lamp on?
If you want to.
I don't mean a thing.
You ready for this, brother? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tombslayer Podcast, the place where we have resurrectional conversations, and indeed, I just made that word up. Today is especially delicious. I am excited because I have one of my compadres from Take 6 joining me today. This guy, he is what we call the pastor, really, of the group, man. He's a spiritual leader as far as, man, just his integrity and his character. He's a great friend. He's an incredible songwriter, vocalist. He is that dude. Amazing husband, incredible father. I'm gonna stop right now and just bring him up, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Joey Kibble, my God, today.
Let's start with this. How do you know that I'm an amazing husband?
Because I've asked your wife.
I group member, all that stuff, but almost sound like you in places where you shouldn't be to know if I'm amazing.
I literally, before we came on, I asked
talk
Tina.
With the hands. What's up? Thanks for having me on.
Brother, it is a privilege to have you on, man. Actually, when I first got commissioned to do this whole Tombslayer podcast, you were one of the first people I thought of, man, because you and I have had, I'm serious, man, you and I have had conversations.
You say that to all the guests.
I don't, and I've got proof that I don't. But no, man, because, bro, we rock together. We've been rolling together for 20 years this year, bro. 20 years we've been rolling.
That's incredible.
And I have literally been in your counseling sessions, regardless of whether it was in you remember what was it, the Navigator, the Lincoln Navigator back in the day?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's old counseling.
That's old counseling. That's before certification.
Only the left door opened.
But no,
when I had to get in first.
You had to get in first.
I'm sorry.
But no,
because my driver's side did not open. That's why.
Wait, are you for real? It didn't open?
Oh man! During the last days, my driver's side wouldn't open, so I had to get in before the guests got in, and I was the last one to get out. And I just hoped that nobody had seen me. So
hey, well,
we come a long way, man.
Oh my God, we come a long way. We come this far by faith, brother. Leaning.
Hey. And it was leaning on the everlasting.
My God, that everlasting strut on the left hand side. Oh my God.
The only lasting strut.
But man, you've been literally, man, a sounding board, a voice of wisdom for me, a voice of confidence. You've been reasoning, and especially, and this is what I really, really want to talk to you about, because I believe it was 2019. You wrote this beautiful book, bro, Out of the Desert Flow Rivers. Was that 2019?
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, man.
It was actually written a while before that. It probably came out around that time, but
and the beautiful thing, this is one of the reasons why I love it, is because it says the name of the book is Out of the Desert Flow Rivers. Then it says Discovering God's Provision in the Desert of Life's Experiences. And I had no idea that I was going to be going through my own personal desert of life experiences when I got divorced. And before even leading up to that, you had experienced that already. And so I think that it was a blessing that God enabled me to be connected with somebody who experienced that, so you can help walk me through it. Talk to me about finding God's provision, because that's almost sounds like an oxymoron, finding God's provision in the desert of life's experiences, such as divorce. How do you find an oasis of God's provision in the middle of divorce, bro?
Well, let me back up a little bit. That book was written as a pastor's kid who had grown up in a pastor's family, going to church all the time, but not knowing how to hear God's voice. I know how to behave in church. I know church talk. I know church rhetoric. I know how to act, how to carry myself. Everything except knowing what God's voice sounds like. You are around and industry so long, but don't know how to hear the voice of the one who speaks through the organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so it started off by writing, little corner blurbs for take6.com. And then I compiled those into a book. But it's just like the real crux of the book is God really speaks in the most simplistic ways. We're just too deep to hear it.
Mm.
We're listening way too hard
Listening too hard.
when he speaks really, really, because he speaks in little simple ways, and every person has a language, and he speaks your language. But we think that God is so deep that we overtax the whole situation, don't realize, oh, wait a minute, that was you talking to me. Oh, circumstantially, that was you talking to me. Oh, when I read that here and it spoke to my situation.
Yeah.
And it was like an oasis because I was going through a desert. And then I realized that was you talking. Oh, I didn't know that.
Right.
That's really where that book came from.
Wow.
Now your question.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. In fact, when I did the first episode of Tomb Slayer podcast, I actually interviewed myself, just like this, and I literally was talking about the same exact thing. My parents divorced when I was, I think, like either 7 or 8 years old, right? And they pastored a church in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And I realized it wasn't until they divorced that I realized that I was in the church. I was around the church. I was around Christ, but I wasn't in Christ. I did not know him for myself. I just did what church kids do. I just did what, we just go through the motions. We know how to do church, but I did not know him. If that makes sense. And of course it makes sense to you because that's exactly what you're explaining. And so you go through life situations not even knowing what his voice actually sounds like. Right. We spend a lot. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, we spend a lot of our time around people that say this or this, they say this is what he sounds like or this is how he responds, whatever, but we don't know him for ourselves.
Right. So that brings me back to your question for me. How did you hear God's voice having gone through divorce? How was it like an oasis in a desert for you having gone through divorce? And I will jump right at it. So growing up in the organization of religion, I guarantee that at some point you've heard God hates divorce.
Yes.
God hates divorce.
100%.
And so it really is it's almost like a statement that then calls you to, I don't care what you got to do. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care whatever it is. Just remember that God hates divorce. And if God hates divorce,
it's not an option.
It's not an option.
Yes.
I don't care where you are. Look, you may be dying, but you remember that God hates divorce. Well, the process of having to go through divorce and the process of having to, more importantly, rehabilitate and heal from having gone through divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at one point, another statement that was said, which was, you're touched in all the infirmities and all the ways that I would ever have to be touched and everywhere that I'd be tempted, yet without sin. And I remember saying to myself, now, God is like, no disrespect, but you're going to have to show me where you have been touched in this way, like I have. Like, I'm in real concrete, feelable pain right now. I know the church is like a wife and you are the husband and but you're going to have to show me how you went through all of this stuff. And again, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but like the stuff I'm going through now, I haven't read that you went through that.
Ooh.
At least not like I have in the Bible. And that I remember sitting on my couch in the living room, looking up into the window. And I don't even know how long it took for this thought to make its way through my head. But he said, I know everything you've had to experience because Lucifer, first of all, we were in a relationship, a love relationship. I created this angel. Like everything, I poured everything into this angel. My entire relationships with all of my children, my heavenly children, are relationships of love. And what I had to do, I brought them into existence, and I had to do for them before they could, because they're created beings. So I had to create them with the power of choice. Because if I want love to be a free decision, it had to come along also with the property of they could choose not to love me.
Yeah.
So I didn't create robots. I created beings with free choice. And this one began to explore the entire gamut of, you know what? I could do this better than you can. You brought the Son of God into counsel that you didn't bring me into. And I mean, why is that? Like, why can't I? How come you didn't call me into these? How come you didn't? And I saw the entire mindset. I saw the process, and I had to hold myself at bay while he worked through that process of, you know what? I don't think I think I'm down with you, but I don't know if heaven is down with me.
Right.
You know, and so watching that process happen, knowing that, hey, I could snuff him out and create another angel, but I want my government of love to be about love. Watching that happen, watching him, and then pleading with him then to consider, look at how great my love is. Look at what we don't know is how long he pleaded with Lucifer about this whole thing. But what we do know is there got to be a point where Lucifer is like, I don't get with you. I'm gonna spread my philosophy all over, and I'm not gonna come into the confines of what this love freedom really is. I'm doing it my way. Man. And the Bible does say there was war in heaven. War in heaven. Now watch this. There was war in heaven before I got here. Before he created earth, there was war in heaven. And the Bible says that he was cast out. Like, at some point, Lucifer said, I'm going to believe what I'm going to believe. I'm going to stay right here. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going to get with your love. I'm going to stay right here, and I'm going to keep spreading this message to all the people who would listen. So watch. He took with him a third of the unnumbered angels. So he convinced a third of the heavenly host of his philosophy. And at some point, the Lord is like, I will do everything in my power to bring health to this relationship. But if you will not receive the love relationship, then you got to go. Woo! So because Lucifer's not leaving.
Oh my God. We
have to have an order to this. And he put him out of heaven. Lucifer fell, was cast out of heaven.
Oh my God.
Watch this. All of this happened before I was ever created. Now, here's the message that I'm hearing. God hates divorce for a whole different reason than what I've been told. He hates divorce because he knows the heartache. He knows what it's like to have to extend yourself in love continually for who knows how long. To stand by, because he's not going to manipulate. He's not going to coerce. He's not going to make you get there. But then to get to this decision where you have to draw a boundary line, and you like, okay, you're not going, if we're going to have health, I will not tolerate you continually, because there are children involved. There is a heavenly host of angels. It's not just you and me.
Oh my God.
You convince a third of the rest of the family that I am lying to you and them. He's been through the heart of the hurt of heartache. He's been through this whole. That was a divorce that he had to initiate. He had to go and file for that divorce. There's a reason why it's said, wherever you heard, God hates divorce, because I've been through it already. I understand what it is. And I don't want you to have to go through. God have mercy. Oh, here we go. I don't want you to have to go through this. There's a reason. And because I love you, and because you have to deal with him, because he got cast down to where you are, that's why I hate divorce. And I'm not trying to control you with that. Oh God, can I say this on this podcast?
You can say this on this podcast.
He knows that there are situations so dysfunctional, not that he can't heal it, not that he can't restore it, but because of the properties of love, which require choice, which he instituted. He recognizes that there could be situations where both parties don't want health, where both parties will not allow for the health of the relationship. And he knows that because he set up the whole construct. He set up the institution. So he knows that there are times that beyond infidelity, we can work past infidelity. We can learn to forgive. What we can't do is, if I refuse to allow healing to come to this relationship, that's a whole nother situation where a line has to be drawn. Now, for the sake of the children that remain, they can't sit here and watch this dysfunction continue to play out, because I am a God of love. I've been through this before you ever had to deal with this. That's why I hate divorce. I sat there on the couch looking at the window like, let me put my hand over my mouth, because I have no understanding. God, I admit you have been through this whole thing. You know exactly the infirmity that I've been touched with, and you've been here already.
Lord, have mercy.
So that's an example of how I didn't know that God felt my pain. Like, now, I'm 53 years old. When I was going through this, I was 43 or 40 years old or whatever. 40 years of my life, I've been inundated with religion.
That's right.
And not knowing that this is actually what God had to go through and how he felt.
All we heard was God hates divorce and it's not an option. So stay as dysfunctional as it is. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. It's not an option.
Now, and let's reiterate. He will do what he did tell me. What he did show me is you are responsible, especially as the husband, to do whatever it takes to bring health to the relationship, whatever the cost. To bring health to the relationship at whatever the cost. It's like after a while, we gotta go for counseling.
You are responsible as the husband to bring health to the relationship, no matter the cost.
Definitely to initiate.
To initiate.
But and we hope that the other party is with you if they want help. Mm-hmm. But if they don't, it's still on you to bring health as far as possible to the relationship at whatever the cost. And so at some point, it's like, you got to go for we got to get therapy. We got to go to counseling. It's like we've had an accident in this freeway, and we're stuck. We're sitting out in the freeway, like we're not even trying to pull the car over to the. It's like we're in danger. Everybody in this car, our family who's in this car, is still in danger of getting hit from behind. Like, and we're not gonna move at all. Like, we're just gonna whatever it takes to bring health to that relationship, because That's what I had to do. I had to cover all the ground to do whatever it took to bring health to this relationship. So when I tell you that my grace is sufficient, it's because I've been through this already. I know how to apply the grace to your situation. You ain't been through nothing I haven't had to deal with. Nothing, son. And because I know you're just grass, I'm not even mad at you. Like, I ain't waiting to sit here and strike you down because you don't know how. You just don't know.
Brother, okay, so we have to stop because my brain is on tilt right now. As many years, we've been rocking for 20 years, Joel Allen Kibble, and you have never broken that down like that before.
I actually did. You were eating a burger, so you didn't hear me.
That's probably true.
I'm playing.
And it was probably amazing. It was medium well.
Right?
it was really good.
No, but that's
dude.
When you ask God to be real with you,
woo,
it's just put your seatbelt on.
Well, because we need that. We need that because we cannot survive and be religion as we were taught is not sustainable, bro. It doesn't answer the questions that we have in the pit of our bellies when we got to make these kinds of decisions. Right. When you are looking at the words of the people that have shaped how you see God, how you see his word, how you see what his voice is, and then you have to reconcile that against what you're feeling in your spirit, what you know in your heart to do. That was one of the toughest things for me when I was going through my divorce, bro, was that the fact that I'm the one who wants this to work more than anybody else, and I'm also the one who has to pull the trigger to end it. That was a fight. That was a war in heaven, bro. Yeah. That because I didn't have any at the time, bro. I didn't have any evidence that this is what God would be okay with. I didn't have any evidence. I didn't have any confidence to know that his grace was sufficient, even if I had to make that decision, until I had a conversation with you. Mm-hmm. And you were talking about how God does not desire dysfunction for our lives.
One thing he has not called you to do is to normalize dysfunction.
Say that again.
He has not called you to live and be okay with dysfunction, because he's not. He's not. And think of this, even that, because for all of the people who have to pull the trigger and like, you know what? I have done everything that's possible to do, and I'm going to have to file. You're talking about God, though, who in his love relationship watched his child walk out, take a third of his kids with them. But at the end of time, he's going to have to put his angel that he created out of his misery. And we have not been there.
No.
None of us have been called to have to put anybody out of their misery.
Right.
Like, this is where he's like, and this is where you have not been. I know the angel that I created. I know that he is most miserable now as the devil. And in love and mercy, I will end his misery. Because if I let him continue to go on like this, he is miserable. He's going to make everybody else miserable. And as God, I am going to have to call an end in love to this beautiful creature that I created that's decided he wants to disconnect himself from life. And that's out of mercy. Because he is so terribly miserable now. The only way you can get evidence of that is to see how he treats my people trying to get back at me. See how he hurts people. See how he tortures. And I'm going to have to call an end to his situation. You haven't had to go through that. I'm like, God, you are worthy. I will not say anything else. You got credibility with me.
You good
know
with me?
what you're talking about.
If you don't mind, I will climb underneath the carpet.
I will climb up. I can't imagine. But your credibility with me has been established for good.
Woo. Brother, good God Almighty. That's extremely liberating to a lot of people that are in that place. And we're not talking about just, flippantly, just dysfunction. I call dysfunction. Dysfunction on you. Dysfunction on your cow.
So here's the thing. So obviously that is a passion of mine.
Yes.
Besides Take Six,
yes, sir.
outside of Take Six. And my passion is really to see people heal.
All right, good people, listen up now. If you enjoyed that episode, trust me, there's a lot more where that came from. So make sure you subscribe to Tombslayer YouTube page, because you don't want to miss one of these conversations. You don't want to miss this sweet, sweet hat game either now.